Hey everyone, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Ash Paulson and John Cartwright to discuss all the news out of Nintendo's recent financial reports. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright guys, so a lot of Nintendo news has popped up over the last few days, so now that it's all kind of out there, I thought it was worth getting us all together and talking about our feelings on it. Now, we have some stuff about E3, we have a changing of the guard in a lot of situations, we have how Switch is doing in general, and some future plans for Nintendo. There's a lot of things just all around, but right off the bat, first off, let's talk about their E3 plans, which is honestly about what you'd expect from Nintendo at this point for their E3s.
Yeah, I mean, there really are no surprises here. It's still exciting, of course, but, you know, we've still got the usual presentation at 9 a.m. on the morning of day one. You know, we've got the championships. I mean, it really is. We got Treehouse Live. It's pretty much standard fare for Nintendo's E3 at this point.
Yeah, and they seem to be name-dropping Smash Bros. Quite a bit, too, which I guess is kind of in line with the previous 2 years, where we had Breath of the Wild one year and then a focus on Mario Odyssey. So I guess this year's going to be pretty Smash Bros. Heavy.
I mean, I honestly wouldn't be too surprised if most of their booth is just Smash Brothers with a smattering of other smaller games. Just to, get in there. It makes sense because the lines are going to be ridiculous for Smash Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And I am completely fine with this. I mean, the E3 that Smash Wii U was their big headline title at E3, that was one of my favorite years. The way the booth was set up, you had that whole stage where people could like wait in line to go up and play on stage in front of the whole booth. It was a lot of fun, and I expect much the same thing for Smash Switch. And I mean, come on, it's Smash Brothers. Like, of course I'm excited.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the cool thing, is that it is all based around Smash Brothers, and everybody loves Smash Brothers, so let's see what they have to offer. One of the things that actually caught my attention the most about these plans, though, is that for their video presentation, everything they announced during it is releasing 2018.
Right, which, I mean, that isn't a huge departure, right? I think last year they also, of course, I mean, they announced Metroid Prime 4 last year without a release date.
Also Yoshi.
and Pokemon.
And Kirby.
That's true. Well, that's true, but did their presentation last year specifically say they were only focusing on titles coming out? Yeah, okay. So it is a bit of a departure then, which maybe they're so confident in what they've got lined up for the rest of this year that they don't feel the need to tease 2019 yet.
Maybe.
I suppose so. You know, we still haven't seen Fire Emblem in any kind of capacity, so that's going to be a pretty major title as well. And I'm still not entirely certain if Yoshi's going to make it for 2018.
I still think it
Yoshi
will.
Curse, where Woolly World was announced for what, 2 or 3 years before it released, and you know we started off calling it like Yarn Yoshi for for ages.
Well, and it came out in Europe for like almost a full year before it came out in the US. Like, it was out, I think it wasn't a full year, right? But it was almost.
I don't think so.
It was several months, I think, that it came out in Europe beforehand, I thought.
Yeah, there were a couple of titles like that. I don't think it was an entire year, but it was a little bit ahead.
Yeah, it was a bit of a head start, but definitely not a year. They never wait that long on something like that. Not anymore, anyway.
No, they sometimes, like, give you guys a title first, and then give us a different title at the same time. I can't remember what it was last year, but I think it might have been a 3DS game. We didn't get...
you guys got Kirby Battle Royale early.
Right, and then you got something else instead? I can't remember
I don't even think so.
Okay, so I'm looking it up now, and it came out at the end of June in Europe, and it came out in October here in North America. So there's a good,
there was a big
several
gap.
months in between.
Is a while.
Yeah.
Surprising. I mean, the whole development of Yoshi's Woolly World was weird because when it first appeared, it was completely different from what we eventually got, and I'm almost expecting at this point. I'm kind of expecting the same thing with this Yoshi, which I mean, Woolly World ended up great, so sure, I'll do it. It kind of worked out last time. It is a bit odd, but I'm kind of with you, John. I'm not even sure if they'll show it. I really don't know. Because I'm honestly, where would you slot it in? It seems like, unless you do it August, I don't really know where it would fit and not get just swept aside.
I have to say, though, I have been pegging Yoshi as a summer or late summer game, and I still feel that way. I still think we're going to get a re-reveal of it at E3 this year. I do think it's going to come out this year. And my guess is maybe they just Smash is so big, and they might still need to show us Fire Emblem if that's coming out this year, that maybe they just don't feel the need to pack things in with 2019 releases as well. On the other hand, it is going to be weird if they announced Metroid Prime 4 in last year's E3 presentation, and then it's nowhere to be seen this year. That's going to turn a few heads if that ends up being the case, because personally, I have never seen Prime 4 as a 2018 game. I kind of assumed it was always going to be 2019 or later.
There have been some rumors surrounding some kind of Prime Trilogy, though, so like,
That's true.
What if they name-drop Prime 4, but then show us Prime Trilogy, which is also coming, like, this year, or maybe early 2019 or something like that?
That would make a lot of sense.
Good point.
That'd be a
I
good
could
way to
totally
handle that.
see a remastered Prime Trilogy, like, late this year, and then leading into Prime 4 next year.
And that's a port that people would actually enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully not complain about.
Well.
No, I mean, it makes complete
gonna say.
sense. And I guess the other big one is if, like, are we getting Smash and Pokemon this year?
I'm kind of
that's the
starting
thing.
to think so.
Yeah.
And if
I
that happens,
wouldn't have thought
like,
so before, but yeah.
I can almost see Smash in September, launch with the online, Pokemon in its usual November slot, Fire Emblem late November, early December in the Xenoblade slot. I don't know what would get the Mario Odyssey slot.
What
for
if Fire
October
Emblem
now.
does? What if Fire Emblem's actually October?
I'd be down for that. I mean, that's fitting.
I mean,
give
it may
a
be
little bit of a buffer after Smash.
Yeah, and I mean, just because we don't know that much about it doesn't mean that it isn't further along in development. If I recall correctly, we didn't really know about Fire Emblem Echoes either until very close to its actual launch. So it may very well be that this game, Fire Emblem Switch, is a lot further in development than we realize and is gearing up for a late 2018 release.
True. When you mentioned the Xenoblade spot just now, Derek, that all of a sudden triggered in me that we have Xenoblade Story DLC coming later this year too.
That is true.
Right.
So that's probably going to be in the C3.
Yeah, I'd assume so. I'd assume also a release date for the Octo expansion. Like there's a lot of like DLC and smaller stuff that we can probably expect from their E3, but that's more for an E3 predictions video. It's just kind of interesting that they are going to be focusing mainly on 2018, and I think they probably have the lineup to back that statement up, and just still have a little bit of like, hey, coming in 2019, this related thing, or something to that degree,
Right. Or
even just use the treehouse for it, as they've used the treehouse to announce games before. Usually smaller games, but then again, we also had that's where Samus Returns was announced, so who knows?
Yeah. That's what I was going to bring up. I wonder if they'll use Treehouse Live again this year to actually drop, semi-major announcements. And I would say Samus Returns really wasn't even semi-major. It was major. So
That was like the biggest surprise of last year.
yeah, it really was. So I wonder if they'll do that again.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised, because honestly, that Treehouse Live has just worked for them. Just, hey, let's show off a ton of this game. And that's that.
Well, all I know is the previous Smash Invitational was one of the most fun, around E3 events I've ever attended. It was so fun just to be there in the audience and just take it all in and be part of that hype. So I hope that this new Invitational delivers as well. And we're going to be busy this year, you guys. We have the E3, we have E3 in the conferences, but now we also have the Splatoon 2 and Smash Championships to watch to see if they actually announce anything,
Right.
It's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm used to watching waiting around watching this stuff to see if they announce anything, so it's not that different of E3 for me.
Well, no, but it's a good problem to have, I guess. It's just more to watch, but you wouldn't have to, ask me to sit down and watch a Smash Invitational.
Yeah,
but I'd do it anyway.
Well, moving on from E3, another big thing that was announced is that Tatsumi Kimishima is stepping down, and a new Nintendo president is being put in place here soon. Shantaro Furukawa, excuse me. And based on his background, he seems pretty interesting. Just basic info. He's an expert in marketing. He has very close ties to Pokemon. He spent a third of his career overseas in Germany. He speaks fluent English, so that's good for directs, possibly.
Right.
He played a key role on the Switch, and he's only 46. Still slightly older than Iwata was when he took over at 42. But from everything I've seen, he seems like a pretty decent choice.
Yeah, and he said his favourite game is Golf Story as of recent, so good man.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, He seems perfectly well qualified. I don't have any particular thoughts on it. I can only assume that Nintendo wouldn't have chosen him if he wasn't completely qualified for the job. And I really think it's the age part that stands out to me. I mean, as you said, Derek, Iwata was younger when he took over, but still, the age gap between Shuntaro Furukawa here and Kimishima, who is 68 years old, that's a significant gap, and I think we're going to see a difference in leadership approach and overall just kind of direction, maybe with between the two.
Definitely made difference in leadership, because there's a few quotes from a Wall Street Journal article talking about Furukawa and even Kimishima's comments on him. And one of the more interesting quotes is that at this news conference, Kimishima described his successor as someone good at building consensus among all employees rather than relying on a few geniuses, in quotes.
Oh.
And he said he's been relying on, been eyeing Mr. Furukawa, for years as a future CEO.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, exactly. That's a interesting shift in how things are going, because we've seen multiple times how Miyamoto's word is above all.
Well, and we've also seen how this shift to a focus on younger developers and younger team members kind of, giving us their ideas of Nintendo's long storied franchises. We've seen how that's worked out so well for them. I mean, look at Breath of the Wild, look at Super Mario Odyssey. I mean, these are new takes on long-standing Nintendo franchises that were brought about, we know, because they had a fresh, younger development team take a crack at it. Mm-hmm. And kind of, look at things from a different set of eyes. And that has been invaluable to Nintendo as of late. I mean, Splatoon was kind of born from that as well. So it really does make sense to me that they would be doubling down on that. Let's not just keep relying on the words of a few top Nintendo officials. Let's really bring in the new guard.
Yeah, exactly. Let's bring in new people so they can be the geniuses of the future.
Right.
And I think that's a very, very smart idea on their part, and as you said, they've paid off. Otherwise, Kimishima is not fully retiring. He's going to be spending his time just sort of assisting Furukawa, helping with the transition, that sort of stuff. All makes sense, but I mean, it's hard to judge a person on what they're capable of doing when they haven't done anything yet, if any major consequence. So it seems like, all I can say is it seems like a good choice.
Yeah, one thing I do want to mention, just briefly, is that I have seen on Twitter and various Resetera threads that there are at least some people saying, "Oh man, Kimishima must have done a terrible job," or they must have not liked what he was doing. And I'm like, it is important to remember that he was always intended to be an interim president. He was never a permanent solution to Iwata, or after Iwata's passing. So, just keep that in mind. This isn't because Nintendo thought he was doing a bad job. He was always intended to be temporary.
Yeah.
And for that exact reason, that's why I'm a bit more surprised that Satoshi Shibata from Nintendo of Europe has stepped down from his role too.
Right. And because he's been there for a long time, right?
Yeah, he did a really good job too. He presented a lot of the European Nintendo Directs himself.
Yeah.
He's been a really large role in the European subsection for years. I mean, I met him last year, I think. He's a nice guy. So this was really a big surprise, because Koizumi, of course, we expected him to come down, because as Ash just said, he was never meant to be around permanently. So yeah, for me, this is the big surprise of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And now, but he's not being. Some people have said stepping down, demoted, or not even demoted, but just
no,
that.
He's being
promoted
NCL.
And at NCL, so he's moving up in the world. It's just not with Nintendo of Europe anymore, which is interesting. And they also did not hire somebody. They didn't have somebody else from Japan come over to Europe. They have an actual European taking his role, correct?
I believe so. I don't remember if they've given a name out there, have they?
I think they have, but I don't have it on me at the moment. So
okay.
Yeah, but I do think there's an actual. I'm saying European because I don't know which country it's from. So there's a lot of countries out in Europe, so
that's a good guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But that would offer a nice bit of symmetry. I mean, not that it needs to happen, but Nintendo America's president is American, and it would offer a nice bit of symmetry to have Nintendo Europe's president be European, with NCL's president being Japanese. It's kind of a nice bit of three-way symmetry there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and they'll know the market. So, yeah, it's interesting changing of the guard. Well, let's get into the financial reports themselves and the information that's just kind of interesting right off the bat. And they talked a little bit about how Kirby Star Allies is selling faster than any other game in the franchise before, and Bayonetta 2 is selling faster on the Switch than it was on the Wii U, which honestly in both cases isn't too surprising. Star Allies is, I think, a good game, not quite up to snuff as other Kirby games, but it is on the Switch, and that's all that matters.
When it's on Switch, though, I guess it's also a full-price console game, whereas most Kirby's are $40, right?
That is true.
So, yeah, I guess it's kind of surprising that it's selling faster than like Triple Deluxe when it's like a third more of the price.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. When I saw this, I was actually really surprised. Not that Kirby isn't a huge seller, and Kirby continues to do well, which makes me happy. But like you said, Derek, Star Allies, of all the recent Kirby games, I would say that it's the least memorable. It's also more expensive, and not that many people would know this necessarily when buying it, but it's also by far the shortest of the recent three, like by far. Yet it's also the most expensive. So I'm kind of surprised actually that it's selling faster than Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot, especially Triple Deluxe, as you said, John. But yeah, I mean, I guess that just speaks to the selling power of Kirby, which again makes me personally very happy because I love Kirby. So.
Oh yeah. Well, what's interesting here, as far as exact numbers, it's 1.26 million units, and that's actually almost catching up to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is at 1.3 million units, which is still good. It's just
that I think is worth highlighting really quick. The fact that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is at 1.3 million. Just think about that in context. I mean, we went from this back to Xenoblade Chronicles 1, which Americans had to fight just to get localized and brought here. And now it's suddenly Xenoblade is kind of one of Nintendo's established tentpole RPG franchises.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Xenoblade 2 is now the highest selling Xeno game, like, ever. Like, Xenogears was the platform holder, I believe, up until then. But now Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has just taken that over. So it's higher than Gears, higher than Saga. So this is pretty huge.
Yeah.
And you would totally, it's maybe, I would say 6 months ago, you would ask people and they would call Xenoblade maybe still a niche franchise. And that just isn't the case anymore.
I think it's become big enough that people are definitely going to be paying attention. So that's
for sure
a great thing. Just in total sales, like for Switch in general, I believe they said they hit 18 million for the first year.
God,
yeah, that sounds right.
And
yeah, I have it in front of me. It's 17.79, so just under 18.
Yeah, which is even higher than most predictions for the first year. I think even Nintendo themselves predicted 16 million around there. So
I believe so. Yeah, and I mean, again, just for context, the Wii U lifetime sales 13.56. So
yeah,
know,
seriously.
Right?
I mean,
but yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it's crazy. But yeah, it's doing super well. I think they said they're predicting another 20 million for the next year. So makes sense to me. Hopefully they can keep that momentum going. And probably the most insane thing here is just the attach rate of Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 10.4 million units for Super Mario Odyssey. So over half users of the people that have a Switch have Odyssey, and 9.2 million units for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Like, holy crap.
That is, yeah, those are insane attach rates.
Absolutely. During the last financial report, both Splatoon 2 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe were kind of on par with their Wii U equivalents. But now Splatoon 2 is like, I think 2 million ahead or something like that since last time. Because it's now on 6 million.
Yeah, they're currently at 6 million, I believe. Let me take a look here if I can find Splatoon real quick. It's at Splatoon on Wii U was 4.9 million.
Right, so yeah, the last financial report, it's gone up by like 1.5 million, which is massive. This game has huge legs in Japan, especially.
Oh yeah.
And also Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was one of the highest selling games on Wii U, and now it's one of the highest selling games on Switch.
I think it was the highest highest selling on Wii U. Looking at it, it sold 8.42 million units. which, I mean, if the Wii U only sold 13 million units, that's even more impressive, that attach rate. Like, holy crap.
Right. And these are the two games that people were calling ports, and that there's no way they're going to be successful. And now they're like the best-selling games on the system.
Up there.
Right. I do want to point out that the Switch has also been incredibly kind to brand new franchises, because I'm looking at ARMS, and it's sitting at 1.85 million, almost 2 million. For a brand new franchise, untested, completely kind of a new kind of way to play fighting games, and compared to the other games on this list, yes, it's a more moderate success, but in in its own standards, it's almost 2 million, which is great.
And let's not ignore the other new IP, 1-2-Switch. It's at 2.29 million.
Well, that was my next one, and I was going to say there's one other game here that I would say maybe doesn't deserve the 2.29 million sales it has, which is 1-2-Switch.
Yeah, that's a little weird, but I mean, it makes sense.
It does. Launch hype and
exactly. It's like showing off the thing and like, oh, it's just like it really did advertise to families. Like, here's how you sell your family on the Switch type game. Right. So I can kind of see how that works. But yeah, as always, sales for the Switch are just kind of crazy. But also to do with the Switch, and we've mentioned this a little bit, is that the Switch's online service is still coming in September, still planned for September, and they will be releasing even more information on it on their website in early May. So hopefully we get a better idea of what the heck we're in for, because I'm still kind of unsure about what their plans are. So maybe they'll show a little bit in May and then actually talk about it at E3, one would hope.
It's hard to say, because, I mean, really, the big conundrum we've all talked about before is the fact that, I mean, if it's launching in September, it's got to launch with a big game. But we have all said in the past that if Smash feels like it's going to be too soon for September, so...
No, I haven't said that. I've always been saying that Smash is, like, as soon as Smash was announced, yep, that's September.
I thought you said that... Oh, okay. Well, I personally think September feels a little too soon for Smash. Maybe not. But I also don't think it's going to be Pokemon. I think that's also too soon. So... maybe Smash is going to be ready earlier than we think, possibly, because they can't drop it and not have a big.
I will put good money down. It's Smash in September to go along with this online.
Yeah, what if something like Fortnite launches in September?
Okay.
Fortnite. I mean, have another pillar there. Have Fortnite. That's not a bad idea.
But I don't know if that's strong enough to carry. Well, no, I do know outside of Nintendo, it would be strong enough to carry an online service launch. Within the purview of Nintendo fans, I don't think Fortnite matters enough to the average Nintendo fan for it to carry the entire online service's launch. That doesn't make sense to me.
But as a supplement to Smash Brothers, I think.
Sure, as a supplement, absolutely. Just not the headline game. But yeah, it's supplementary for sure. But yeah, I mean, again, I had always kind of pegged Smash for November, but maybe it'll be ready in September, and that's what they're going to launch it with. Either way, it's going to be good to know in early May a little more about all this.
Yeah. See, because I think the big question on everybody's mind is, Virtual Console when?
I don't think ever.
You had those trademarks recently for like Punch-Out, Paper Mario, Dr. Mario. So I wonder if those are related to Virtual Console or the online service. But a few of those games aren't online, like Paper Mario. So maybe not. I mean, again, we don't really know anything about this interface. The last thing we heard was it's originally going to be NES and SNES games, and now it's just kind of NES games. And we haven't really heard a peep since last year.
Yeah,
really.
It's so hard to know. I mean, I do tend to agree with Andre on this. I do think the Virtual Console brand is on ice. I don't expect to see the Nintendo Switch Virtual Console ever, really. I do expect to see a completely different, rebranded retro solution that may or may not end up disappointing people. I don't know. But I really do expect that the Virtual Console brand is not going to appear on Switch at this point.
I think you're totally right, yeah. Virtual Console made sense in, like, 2006.
Yeah.
When, before we had streaming services like Netflix and Spotify. And not to say that this is going to be a streaming service, but I think just the nature of how people consume digital content has changed so much in the last 12 years. And that was displayed with Wii U and 3DS, where Virtual Console games just didn't really sell. Like, if you weren't Pokemon or Earthbound, you didn't really get any traction. So, yeah, I think they need to find a way to push the more niche games and just adjust their pricing. That's the real thing. Like, why is Clu Clu Land the same price as Kirby's Adventure?
Yeah. And you also have the issue that Nintendo has kind of sold themselves into a corner with the Classics line. They're almost cannibalizing their own retro library, because they have this Classics line that's doing incredibly well for them with the NES and SNES Classic, and presumably the third system coming whenever, somewhat soon. But if they then introduce a retro solution onto the Switch, that's a direct conflict with their own market there, and
right.
I think that has a lot to do with why we haven't seen a retro solution on the Switch yet.
I mean, you want people to try niche games to just do that. Somehow set up a Netflix-like service where people can pay a certain amount and download from a listing of games and try out these smaller titles.
That's so true. I mean, I'm thinking about all the Wii Shop Channel titles, like all the Wii Virtual Console games I never checked out, because again, they're all the same price, and you don't always know what you're getting into, but there were so many little NES games and SNES games that I'd never heard of, or barely heard of, that I wanted to check out. Can you imagine that kind of selection with a subscription-type model? Not that I think we're going to get that, mind you, at all. But God, that would be so cool.
That's the thing I have a hard time wrapping my head around, is like, how would they price it? How would they handle it? Just,
right.
You can't stream the games like you do in Netflix. You have to download them. And I don't know. I'm sort of up in the air, but that's why we need this information in May.
Exactly.
So, yep. Here's another crazy thing, though, because did not see this one coming. Nintendo has announced that they are preparing new software for the 3DS for release in 2019 and beyond.
Oh, no, beyond.
And beyond. We're going to get new 3DS
God.
games in like 2022. This thing will never die.
Yeah, well, 3DS is kind of in this slump at the moment where most of its new games are recycling either gameplay designs or engines from previous games.
Mm-hmm.
Like Luigi's
Right.
Mansion is using the Dark Moon engine and the designs from the original Luigi's Mansion. And then you have Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which is of course a remake as well. So I kind of wonder if they're going to do more like Wii U ports, kind of like with Captain Toad, like maybe put Kirby and the Rainbow Curse or something like that on 3DS.
It's sad, but
which
that would
quite
be
nice
a
fit, I
much
think.
it'd be a much better fit for the 3DS than it was.
You know
on the
what?
Wii U.
I would actually double dip for that game if they released it on 3DS. I'm not going to lie. That actually would be a perfect fit.
Though I'm kind of worried that they're going to put another Metroid on 3DS.
I know.
Like, Samus Returns kind of hinted towards something else. So what if they, like, going with this remake philosophy that they're doing at the moment, what if they remake Fusion on 3DS? I can see that happening. I can see people being disappointed by that. I can see myself being disappointed by that.
Yeah.
Me too.
I mean, I'd be disappointed, but I also pick it up.
Right.
That's the thing. It's like anything they do Metroid on 3DS is going to disappoint me just by virtue of the fact that it isn't on Switch. Yet I'm still sure going to play it and pick it up. So it's kind of a weird situation. It's what's funny though is if the 3DS sticks around for too much longer, which it sounds like it will, they could just release the Bowser's Inside Story remake and then just remake Dream Team. Even though that was a 3DS game, just release the Dream Team remake.
Or maybe actually go back into Partners in Time.
Yeah,
They
they sure
skipped
did
that.
unceremoniously skip that one, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
They sure just kind of said, well, we don't care about Partners in Time. But, yeah, it is, I mean, look, the sales must be there, and they must have determined that even now, with the Switch selling as well as it is within their interest to, at least partially cater to the swath of their audience that either cannot or will not buy a Switch yet and only has a 3DS.
Maybe they'll wait. Maybe the 3DS will stick around until the Switch actually surpasses the 3DS's sales.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe then
yeah, I
they'll
don't
be
know.
convinced.
That's the thing, is like I'm not intrinsically against the 3DS sticking around through 2020. Like I've loved the 3DS. I've loved mine. I've played a ton of games on it. It's just that for me personally, the Switch has pretty much entirely supplanted the 3DS in my own gaming life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not against 3DS owners being catered to. However, I want those 3DS games to also be on Switch because I just prefer playing games on Switch.
And maybe that'll happen because we saw it happen with Sushi Striker, which was supposed to be a 3DS only game as well. But I'm totally with you as far as 3DS games because it's completely for selfish reasons.
Totally.
Because I hate recording off of the 3DS for reviews and stuff.
Right.
It is a nightmare, and it is so much more comfortable and easier to do recording off the Switch. So please stop releasing 3DS games so I don't have to worry about 3DS recording. That is all.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go.
I guess I'm a little worried that not only about Metroid, but I'm a little worried that because of Aonuma's comments about how every major Zelda title is going to be open air from now on. Oh God, please no. But even he said that, that where it makes me worry that the next 2D Zelda is also going to reuse the Link Between Worlds engine like Triforce Heroes did and just appear on 3DS. And no, I want a new 2D Zelda on Switch. Like, I'm a little worried that's going to happen. I'm not going to lie.
It's so hard to say.
Yeah.
I could totally see them relegating 2D Zeldas, the quote-unquote minor Zeldas, to the 3DS.
I mean, maybe we'll get a remake of Link's Awakening and
that's kind of where I was
Oracle
going to go.
games.
Please, I would take a Link's Awakening. Let's just, not even. This could be its own discussion. What are we doing? What are you doing? Bringing up a Link's Awakening remake with me?
Sorry.
Oh no, I'm completely. But I'm just like, I just want that so much.
No, exactly. I know exactly how you feel. So I don't know, man. We'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah,
it's crazy, but
imagine if they did do a Link's Awakening remake, though. But again, it was only on 3DS.
Oh no, I could
That would
totally see that happening.
Yeah,
totally see that happening. Anyway, last little bit of big news that came out of all of this Nintendo stuff is their new partnership with Cygames for a new mobile title called Dragalia Lost. And Cygames is kind of big because they're the ones that handled Grand Blue Fantasy in Japan, which, from what I understand, is the biggest mobile title in Japan. Like, nothing compares. So, it's actually fascinating to see Nintendo being like, okay, going straight for the best. Especially kind of disregarding DNA, I guess, in every way with this. Like, ouch.
Yeah. That's true. Although, I mean, there's really no reason they couldn't have partnerships with both,
no,
I guess,
exactly.
Right? I mean, but it's hard to say. Although I agree, I don't have a lot of personal experience with Grand Blue Fantasy. It's a Japan-only title, but every time I've been to Japan since it came out, I do see it everywhere. So, of course, that's only anecdotal, but I have heard the same as you, Derek, that it's just absolutely huge. And, yeah, I mean, good on Nintendo for going straight to the top, like you said, and getting a new game with them.
Yeah, interesting strategy though, because when we first heard about mobile games, we were kind of under the impression that they're all going to be utilizing their own IP, and then they would use that to sell their hardware like that. So going for an entirely new franchise is kind of out of the blue.
A little bit, but I think, and actually, I could get to go back to Furukawa in this one, where he actually did note that one of the things he wanted to do is get mobile to be a major pillar for Nintendo.
And why not? I mean, look at all the money. I mean, Fire Emblem Heroes has done so well for them. Despite all the people, anyone upset about the gacha model, I mean, doesn't matter. It's making tons of money, so why wouldn't they want to make mobile one of their main pillars?
Oh, yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see, apparently we know that Mario Kart Tour is also going to use that same kind of free-to-play model that Fire Emblem Heroes does, so how are they going to do that?
And we've seen how Mario Kart just sells. Put that thing on a cell phone, we're in good shape. Like, holy
exactly.
crap.
So
I think they've learned from their Mario Run pricing as well.
Yeah.
People were just so put off by a large retail price on the mobile space, and it just doesn't seem like that works.
Unfortunately,
yeah,
not.
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't seem to. I mean, Super Mario Run really never regained the traction it lost kind of early on.
Not really.
And I don't. But of course, that also makes it interesting to think about what they're going to do with Zelda. We do know they're working on some sort of Zelda thing in the mobile space. So how would that? Would they try to go for their traditional model like they did with Super Mario Run, or do some sort of free-to-play thing?
Okay, that's where we're going to get our Link to the Past remake on mobile. Or not Link to the Past, Link's Awakening.
Oh, God,
I do often wonder how Fire Emblem Heroes makes so much, because that game is so generous. I mean, I don't play it that often, but every time I log in, I'm just accumulated all these orbs, which I never need to spend a dime on this game. It just keeps throwing stuff at me.
Same here.
I haven't logged in because I got upset after a while about not getting any 5 stars or any of my favorites. So I was like, you know what? I'm done.
there have even been summoning events that guarantee you a 5-star focus hero. So I mean, literally, they have given away 5-star heroes for free to people who log in and do the summoning at the right time. And I agree with you, John. I mean, I don't play a lot of free-to-play games, a lot of gacha games, but the few that I have played, Fire Emblem Heroes is not only like a lot more generous, it's like in a different universe of generosity compared to things like Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's actually kind of crazy, so I agree. How does this game make money?
I'll tell you how it makes money. Those limited holiday events.
Right.
People want to collect them all, get all these special characters. Well, they might get all of them with their accumulated ones that they've been given over time. But if they didn't, well, they only have a certain amount of time to actually get those special summons. So that is how they make their money.
Well, Derek, I hate to tell you, but you did just miss the window for Spring Kagero, so you know.
I gave up. Like I said, I know. Totally gone from Heroes. Like I
totally
appreciate
agree.
what I can do, but my luck is terrible. So
Right.
best not make myself feel bad. But no, I saw the trailer for Dragalia Lost. It looks like a fine little RPG. It's I can see it working, and it makes sense for Side Games to work with Nintendo, get that association, which automatically gets like, Nintendo fans going, let's check out this new Nintendo game, and also just the fact that they're gonna now be able to bring this title to countries other than Japan to really rake in all the cash.
Right. Well, and one thing that's interesting about Dragalia Lost is one of the news bits I pulled out of the financial briefing for the update we did about it was the fact that not only is Mario Kart Tour apparently still releasing by the end of fiscal year 2019, meaning anytime before March 31st of next year, but they said that it's one of several titles in the mobile space that are going to be releasing this year. So that, of course, piqued our interest because they haven't really announced anything other than Mario Kart Tour and this vague Zelda-ish thing. So I wonder if Dragalia Lost is part of that suite of mobile things they're talking about.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting times, though, that we're just freely talking about Nintendo in the mobile space. How far things have come, huh?
Yeah.
I know, like 5 years ago, this would not be happening. We'd be shutting down this conversation immediately.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what's funny is that just like clockwork, there were so many armchair critics who were just portending the Nintendo entering the mobile space with Mario Run was portending the end of Nintendo as we know it. No, they always said straight up that they were using the mobile pillar to fund their core video game development business. And that's what they've done. Nintendo not only is still doing fine, but they're on top again. And there is never any reason to be concerned about them entering the mobile space.
Nope, not at all. So overall, Nintendo's still doing pretty well. Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Nintendo's doomed since 1996.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, well, any other final comments on any of the news we talked about in this discussion?
I do have one thing, and that is just one brief quote from, again, Nintendo's new president, Shuntaro Furukawa, who has recently been quoted as saying, Nintendo should focus on things that only we can provide. Otherwise, Nintendo would lose a reason to exist. And I completely agree. That tells me that they are going to double down on the things that they uniquely do well and are not just trying to make another PlayStation and Xbox thing that is just pushing as much power as it can. You know, they're trying to do their own thing, which is what they've always done. And that quote tells me that Furukawa is in the right mindset to be Nintendo's new president.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Cool, yeah. Can't disagree. Alright, well I think that covers it for our Nintendo discussion, so thank you for watching, and if you liked this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. And of course, make sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more on Nintendo and other things gaming as well. Until next time, bye.